The HMS Hyperion hung motionless in the void between stars, its quantum stealth systems rendering it invisible to even the most advanced Imperial sensors. Captain Diana Novik stood at the bridge's observation window, her weathered face reflecting off the reinforced glass as she watched the distant flashes of Imperial warships jumping into hyperspace. Each flash represented another human colony falling to the Catharian Empire's relentless advance. "Status report," she commanded, turning to face her bridge crew. The command center of humanity's most advanced warship was eerily quiet, its crew operating with the precision of people who knew they carried the hopes of their entire species on their shoulders. "Quantum core stable at 97%, stealth systems nominal," reported Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez from his engineering station. His fingers danced across holographic displays as he monitored the experimental systems that made the Hyperion unique. "The new modifications are holding better than expected." Commander Victor Chen, her executive officer, approached with a tactical display projected from his neural interface. "Latest intelligence suggests the Catharians believe their victory is complete. They don't know about the Hyperion or what we're capable of." Diana allowed herself a grim smile. The Hyperion represented everything humanity had learned about warfare in the brutal months since first contact. While other nations had tried to match Catharian technology directly, the Hyperion took a different approach. It was smaller, faster, and incorporated revolutionary systems that even the Empire hadn't conceived of. "Message from Fleet Command," announced Communications Officer Yuki Tanaka, her augmented eyes glowing faintly as she processed the encrypted transmission. "The evacuation of Proxima Colony is complete. We're authorized to begin Operation Ghostmaker." Diana nodded, feeling the weight of command settle more heavily on her shoulders. The Hyperion was about to demonstrate why humanity shouldn't be underestimated. "Plot a course to the Centauri staging ground. It's time to show the Empire that their victory isn't as complete as they think." The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency as the Hyperion's quantum drive spooled up. They had trained for months for this mission, pushing experimental technology to its limits. The ship itself was a marvel of human ingenuity. Its hull incorporated metamaterials that absorbed energy weapons, its quantum core allowed for unprecedented maneuverability, and its weapon systems could target vulnerabilities that the Empire didn't even know their ships possessed. "Multiple Imperial signatures detected at the target coordinates," reported Tactical Officer James O'Neill, his cybernetically enhanced reflexes allowing him to process sensor data faster than any unaugmented human. "Counting 3 heavy cruisers and multiple support vessels. They're preparing to jump to their next target." "Perfect timing," Diana said, settling into her command chair. "Execute attack pattern Delta. Remember your training, people. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we don't give them time to understand what they're facing." The Hyperion's quantum drive engaged, shifting the ship through dimensions in ways that Imperial sensors couldn't track. They would appear as nothing more than a sensor ghost until the moment they struck. Diana felt a fierce pride in her crew and her ship. The Empire thought they had crushed humanity's spirit, but they were about to learn just how wrong they were. "Weapons hot," O'Neill reported, targeting solutions locked on all 3 cruisers. "The Empire believes they've won because they've never faced an enemy who could match their technology," Diana addressed her crew. "Today, we prove that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, it's our ability to adapt, to innovate, and to never give up even when the odds seem impossible." The Hyperion's quantum core hummed with power as they prepared to strike. In the next few moments, they would shatter the Empire's confidence and demonstrate why humanity deserved its place among the stars. Diana Novik and her crew were about to write the first chapter in humanity's comeback story, and she intended to make it one the Empire would never forget. "All hands battle stations," she commanded. "Let's show them what one human ship can do." The Hyperion materialized from quantum space like a predator emerging from the depths. Commander Victor Chen watched the tactical display as 3 Imperial cruisers hung suspended before them, their crews completely unaware of the danger lurking in their midst. The massive vessels, each nearly 10 times the size of the Hyperion, represented the Empire's philosophy of overwhelming force. But size, Victor knew, wasn't everything. "Multiple targeting solutions confirmed," James O'Neill reported from Tactical. "Quantum torpedoes locked on their shield generators will have exactly 12 seconds before their backup systems engage." Diana's voice carried the steel edge of command. "Execute primary attack sequence, maximum disruption." The Hyperion's quantum torpedoes streaked across space, their warheads phase-shifting to bypass the Imperial shields completely. Victor had helped design these weapons himself, combining human ingenuity with fragments of recovered alien technology. The explosions bloomed silently in space, and three of the Empire's proudest warships suddenly found themselves vulnerable. Shield generators neutralized, O'Neill confirmed. They're scrambling to respond, but their command protocols are working against them. Their crews are waiting for orders while their automated systems are trying to adapt. Victor allowed himself a tight smile. This was where human flexibility proved superior to Imperial rigid command structures. They're transmitting distress calls on all Imperial frequencies, Yuki reported from communications. But they're about to find their quantum relays aren't working either. Launch ECM drones, Diana ordered, full-spectrum interference. Let's make sure they stay isolated. The Hyperion released a swarm of autonomous drones, each one broadcasting signals specifically designed to disrupt Imperial communications and sensors. Victor had spent months studying Imperial technology, learning its weaknesses. The Empire's strength was built on interconnected systems. Take away their ability to coordinate, and individual ships became far less effective. Multiple weapon signatures, O'Neill called out. They're firing blind, Captain. Exactly as expected, Diana replied calmly. Execute evasive pattern Theta-3, target their secondary power cores with precision strikes. The Hyperion danced through space, its quantum drive allowing it to shift position faster than Imperial targeting systems could track. Victor watched in satisfaction as each blind shot from the Imperial vessels passed through empty space. The human ship's smaller size and incredible maneuverability, combined with its stealth systems, made it nearly impossible to hit. Engineering reports quantum core holding steady at 94%, Rodriguez called from his station. We can maintain this level of performance for another 17 minutes before we need to cycle the systems. That was more than enough time. The Hyperion's return fire was precisely calculated, each shot targeting specific vulnerabilities that Victor and his team had identified in Imperial ship design. The Empire's overconfidence meant they'd never bothered to address these weaknesses. After all, who would dare attack an Imperial warship? First Cruiser's power grid is cascading, O'Neill reported with professional satisfaction. Their weapons and engines are offline, Second Cruiser showing similar signs of system failure. The bridge crew worked with practiced precision, each person knowing their role in this carefully choreographed dance of destruction. Victor moved between stations, monitoring the overall battle flow and making minor tactical adjustments as needed. This wasn't just about destroying Imperial ships, it was about sending a message. Imperial commanders are requesting immediate surrender terms, Yuki announced, a note of triumph in her voice. They're not even sure what they're fighting. Good, Diana said. That's exactly how I want it. The Empire needs to learn that they can't simply overwhelm everything in their path. Sometimes the smallest opponent can be the deadliest. Victor approached her command chair with updated tactical projections. Captain, we've achieved primary mission objectives. The Empire will have to commit significant forces to protect their supply lines now that they know they're vulnerable. Phase 2 of Operation Ghostmaker can begin. Diana nodded, studying the tactical data. Send the surrender coordinates to the Imperial vessels. Once their crews are secured, we'll deliver them to the Resistance staging area. Let's show them that humanity can be merciful as well as powerful. The Hyperion had just demonstrated something the Empire had never expected, that a single human ship, properly designed and crewed, could take down 3 of their cruisers without suffering a single hit. As Victor watched the Imperial crews preparing to abandon their crippled vessels, he knew this was just the beginning. Prepare for quantum jump, Diana ordered. We have 5 more targets to hit before the Empire realizes this wasn't an isolated incident. By the time they figure out what's happening, their entire defense network will be in chaos. The Hyperion disappeared into quantum space, leaving behind 3 dead Imperial cruisers as a calling card. The Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humanity, and Victor Chen was proud to be part of the team delivering that education. Lieutenant Rohan Patel stood in the Hyperion's diplomatic chamber, studying the holographic faces of resistance leaders from a dozen different species. Each bore the marks of Imperial oppression, the crystalline Zarkith with their fractured resonance patterns, the biomechanical Nyx whose neural networks still showed damage from Imperial suppression protocols, and the ethereal Ven whose once bright energy signatures had been dimmed by years of servitude. The Empire told us humans were savages, spoke Carthel, the Zarkith resistance leader. They said you were barely capable of spaceflight, yet here we stand watching Imperial battle groups fall to a single human vessel. The Empire excels at underestimating those they consider beneath them, Rohan replied, his diplomatic training helping him read the subtle shifts in alien body language. That's why we're here, to show you that resistance isn't just possible, it's inevitable. The Hyperion had spent the last 3 weeks striking Imperial targets across 6 sectors, demonstrating vulnerabilities in what was supposed to be an invincible war machine. Each successful attack had been broadcast on frequencies the Empire couldn't block, showing subjugated species that their masters weren't as all-powerful as they claimed. We've secured the Imperial prisoners from our latest engagement, Captain Novak announced, entering the chamber. Her presence commanded immediate attention from the alien leaders. They've been quite informative about Imperial fleet movements and defensive protocols. Rohan pulled up tactical displays showing Imperial patrol routes and response patterns. The Empire's greatest weakness is their rigid adherence to protocol. They repeat the same patterns, follow the same routes, because they believe no one would dare exploit this predictability. And your ship can strike anywhere along these routes, asked Sarith, the Nyx representative. Their cybernetic components hummed with carefully controlled excitement. The Hyperion is just the beginning, Diana explained. We've prepared data packets containing specifications for our quantum stealth technology, shield penetration systems, and ECM capabilities. Technology that can be adapted to ships of any size or configuration. This announcement sent ripples of astonishment through the gathered leaders. The Empire maintained control partly by restricting access to advanced technology. The idea of receiving military tech from a species they'd barely heard of months ago was revolutionary. Why would you share such advantages? Asked the Ven leader, their energy field fluctuating with suspicion. What do humans want in return? Allies, Rohan stated simply. The Empire believes they broke humanity's spirit when they attacked our colonies. Instead, they taught us the importance of unity in the face of tyranny. We don't want to rule the galaxy, we want to ensure no species ever faces extinction at Imperial hands again. The tactical display shifted to show a broader strategic view. Red markers indicated Imperial strongpoints, while blue markers showed confirmed resistance cells. Every successful Hyperion strike creates confusion in Imperial ranks, Diana explained. They're forced to redirect forces, strengthen patrols, and spread themselves thinner trying to prevent further attacks. This creates opportunities. Opportunities we can exploit, Carthel concluded, their crystalline form resonating with newfound purpose. If we coordinate our actions with your strikes. Exactly, Rohan confirmed. The Empire maintains control by keeping subjected species isolated, making each believe they're alone in their resistance. But look around this room, you're not alone anymore. The diplomatic chamber hummed with growing energy as the resistance leaders began to see the possibilities. The Hyperion had proven the Empire could be hurt. Human technology could give their forces the edge needed to strike effectively. And most importantly, they had a chance to unite their scattered resistance movements into something the Empire couldn't simply crush. We'll need secure communications, Sarith noted, their cybernetic systems already processing tactical scenarios. Ways to coordinate across sectors without detection. Already prepared, Rohan replied, transmitting encryption protocols developed specifically for this moment. These quantum-entangled communication nodes can't be intercepted or traced. The Empire won't even know they exist. Diana stepped forward, her presence drawing all attention. The Hyperion's next series of strikes will target Imperial communication hubs and sensor networks. When those go down, they'll be blind to your movements. That's when Phase 3 begins. The resistance leaders studied the battle plans with growing confidence. The Hyperion had shown them what was possible. Human technology would give them the tools they needed. But most importantly, they were no longer fighting alone. The Empire believes they've won, Rohan concluded, looking at each leader in turn. They think they've crushed every spark of resistance. Let them keep believing that right up until the moment everything they've built comes crashing down around them. As the diplomatic chamber filled with discussion of coordination and strategy, Rohan felt a surge of pride. The Hyperion had done more than prove humanity's worth. It had become a symbol of hope for every species ground under Imperial boots. The chain of Imperial control was about to break, one link at a time. High Marshal Xandar stormed through the gleaming halls of the Imperial Command Center, his scaled armor reflecting the harsh lighting. Behind him, a trail of subordinates struggled to keep pace, their datapads clutched nervously as they delivered the latest reports of Imperial losses. The High Marshal's rage was legendary, and today it burned hotter than ever. "Impossible," he roared, bursting into the strategic command chamber. "A single human vessel does not simply destroy 3 battle cruisers. Our ships are the pinnacle of galactic engineering. We are the Catharian Empire." Fleet Commander Venra, her silver scales dulled with stress, approached cautiously. "High Marshal, the evidence is undeniable. The vessel designated Hyperion has struck 17 separate targets in the past month. Our losses are—" "I don't want excuses," Xandar cut her off. "I want that ship destroyed, deploy the 7th Fleet, all of it. I will not allow some primitive human design to make mockery of Imperial power." In the shadows of the command chamber, Intelligence Director Kartal watched silently. His cybernetic implants processed the tactical data streaming through his neural network, seeing patterns his superiors refused to acknowledge. The humans weren't fighting like primitives. They were fighting like predators who had studied their prey. Meanwhile, aboard the Hyperion, Captain Diana Novik received the intelligence with grim satisfaction. "They're deploying the 7th Fleet," she announced to her bridge crew. "Over 300 capital ships moving exactly as predicted." "Arrogant fools," Lieutenant Rodriguez muttered from his engineering station. "They still think overwhelming force is the answer to everything." Commander Chen's tactical display showed the massive Imperial fleet movement. "They're stripping defenses from 3 entire sectors to hunt us. The resistance groups are already moving to exploit the gaps." The Hyperion had spent weeks laying the groundwork for this moment. Each strike had been calculated not just for military impact but psychological effect. The Empire's leadership, faced with an enemy they couldn't simply overwhelm, had reacted exactly as expected with blind rage and overwhelming force. "Status of Operation Shadownet?" Diana asked, turning to Communications Officer Tanaka. "Resistance cells report ready in all target sectors," Yuki replied. "The Zarkith have already begun disrupting Imperial quantum relays. The Nyx resistance has their cyber warfare suites prepared. The Ven energy jammers are in position." Back in Imperial Command, Kartal watched the 7th Fleet's deployment with growing unease. Something wasn't right. The patterns were too perfect, the human ship's movements too precise. They weren't running from superior forces, they were leading them. "High Marshal," he ventured carefully, "I believe we should consider the possibility that this is a trap." Xandar's dismissive laugh echoed through the chamber. "A trap? From humans? 300 of our finest ships against 1 vessel, and you speak of traps. This is why intelligence officers never understand true warfare. Today, we demonstrate why the Empire has ruled for 1,000 years." The 7th Fleet moved through space in perfect formation, their sensors sweeping for any sign of the elusive human vessel. They followed Imperial doctrine to the letter, their commanders confident in their overwhelming numerical superiority. Not one of them questioned why their quarry had suddenly become so easy to track. Aboard the Hyperion, Diana gave the order they'd been waiting for. "Initiate Operation Shadownet. Let's show the Empire why pride comes before the fall." Across 3 sectors, carefully planted resistance cells sprang into action. Imperial quantum relays suddenly went dark, cutting off communication between fleet elements. Nyx cyberattacks penetrated command and control systems, scrambling targeting protocols. Ven energy jammers created false sensor readings, turning the carefully coordinated Imperial formation into chaos. In Imperial Command, Kartal watched in horror as the tactical displays became a symphony of confusion. "High Marshal, we're losing contact with fleet elements. Multiple systems are compromised." "Impossible," Xandar raged. "No primitive resistance could penetrate Imperial security. No human ship could orchestrate such an attack." But they had. The Hyperion appeared in the heart of the Imperial formation, its quantum weapons striking with surgical precision at command ships. Each shot targeted critical systems identified through weeks of careful study and prisoner interrogation. The proud vessels of the 7th Fleet, cut off from central control and unable to coordinate their actions, began firing blindly at sensor ghosts. "The Empire forgot the most important lesson of warfare," Diana transmitted on all frequencies. "Never underestimate an enemy fighting for survival. Your pride blinded you to our strength, your arrogance made you predictable, and now your hubris will be your downfall." The Seventh Fleet, pride of the Empire, dissolved into chaos as carefully planted resistance ships emerged from hiding to strike at isolated vessels. The Empire's greatest show of force had become a demonstration of its greatest weakness, the absolute certainty of its own superiority. In the Imperial Command Center, as reports of destruction and defeat flooded in, Cartel finally spoke the words no one had dared utter. The Empire is no longer invincible, and humanity has shown us why. The Imperial capital world of Kethar Prime blazed with weapons fire as the combined resistance fleet dropped out of quantum space. At its heart, the Hyperion led the charge, its advanced systems cutting through Imperial defenses like a blade through silk. The once mighty Empire, which had dominated the galaxy for a millennium, faced something they had never anticipated: unified opposition. Multiple Imperial dreadnoughts on intercept course, O'Neill reported from Tactical, his augmented reflexes processing the chaotic battlefield. They're deploying everything they have left. Captain Diana Novik stood at the center of her bridge, watching as ships from 24 liberated species joined the assault. Zarketh crystalline vessels phased through Imperial barriers, their weapons disrupting enemy shield harmonics. Nyx warships unleashed swarms of cyber warfare drones, turning Imperial automation against itself. Ven energy projectors created corridors of safe passage through the heaviest defenses. This is what the Empire feared most, Commander Chen observed, coordinating the massive fleet's movements. Not just defeat, but proof that their subjected species could work together, could fight back. The Hyperion's quantum core hummed with power as it led the assault on the Imperial Palace's orbital defenses. Each move had been planned, each contingency accounted for. The Empire's rigid tactics, once their strength, had become a fatal weakness against enemies who knew how to exploit them. In the Imperial throne room, High Marshal Xandar watched his empire crumbling. How, he demanded of his advisors, how did one human ship lead to this? Intelligence Director Cartel, who had seen this coming but been ignored, finally spoke freely. Because you never understood what the Hyperion represented. It wasn't just a ship, it was proof that the Empire could be fought, could be beaten. And once that proof existed, everything else was inevitable. The Resistance fleet pressed its advantage, coordinating with a precision that matched anything the Empire had achieved in its height. Human quantum technology, shared freely with their allies, allowed ships of different species to fight as one. The Empire had united the galaxy through force. Humanity had united it through cooperation. Enemy fleet is breaking formation, Yuki announced from communications. We're receiving surrender signals from multiple Imperial commanders. Diana allowed herself a small smile. Broadcast on all frequencies, to all Imperial forces, your empire was built on the belief that strength comes from domination. Today we prove that true strength comes from unity. Lay down your arms and you'll be treated with the mercy your empire never showed others. The battle for Kethar Prime became a symbol of everything the Resistance stood for. Imperial crews, seeing their leaders' incompetence exposed, began standing down. Subjected species, inspired by humanity's example, threw off centuries of conditioning and claimed their freedom. Multiple quantum signatures, Rodriguez called out, ships dropping out of quantum space. It's the Earth Defense Fleet. Diana felt her heart swell as humanity's restored fleet joined the battle. Ships that had been hidden during the Empire's initial invasion, crews who had trained in secret for this moment, emerged to support their allies. The Empire had thought humanity broken, instead they had evolved. In a final act of desperation, High Marshal Xandar ordered the Imperial Palace's defensive grid to overload, threatening to destroy the entire capital. But even this last gesture of defiance fell before united opposition. Nyx cyber specialists contained the overload while Ven energy masters stabilized the grid. The Imperial Palace's shields are down, O'Neill reported. Their last line of defense has fallen. Diana opened a channel to all ships, her voice carrying to every crew that had fought for this moment. The Empire believed they could maintain control by keeping us divided, making each species feel alone in their resistance. But they forgot something crucial: tyranny breeds unity among its victims. Today, we prove that the galaxy belongs not to those who would dominate it, but to those who would protect it together. Resistance troops from a dozen species landed in the Imperial Palace, their coordinated assault overwhelming the last desperate defenders. High Marshal Xandar, symbol of Imperial might, was captured not by humans, but by a combined team of races his empire had once enslaved. The Hyperion maintained its position above the capital, its presence a reminder of how everything had changed. A single human ship had shown the galaxy that resistance was possible. That victory could be achieved not through overwhelming force, but through cooperation, innovation, and unshakable determination. Captain, Yuki called out, emotion clear in her voice, we're receiving messages from across Imperial space. The subjected worlds, they're all rising up, the Empire. It's really over. Diana gazed out at the liberated capital, at the ships of former enemies now flying together at the dawn of a new era in galactic history. No, she corrected gently. It's not over. It's just beginning. The real challenge isn't defeating an empire, it's building something better in its place. The Hyperion, the ship that had started it all, became a symbol of this new beginning. It represented not just humanity's resilience, but the power of unity, the strength found in diversity, and the truth that even the mightiest empire could fall when facing those who refused to accept chains.